Hi, and welcome to the Zero Filter Sessions. I'm your host, Kathy Christensen, and I'm so excited to have you join us for our podcast today. For those of you who don't know me, I'm an industry veteran. I've been in the medical aesthetics industry for the past 26 years or so, and I have spent a lot of time getting to know people in the industry kind of behind the curtain, learning a lot about them as people, a lot about their successes and their struggles and their challenges. And I am excited to be able to bring some of that to you, just because I feel like that's where people really find support and success. So without further ado, let me tell you about this incredible guest I have for you today. Um, our guest today is Lisa Lickstein, MSW and MBA. She's an experienced entrepreneur, recognized community builder, and engaging speaker. Lisa is the co-owner and chief operating officer of Lickstein Plastic Surgery and Medical Spa in Palm Beach Gardens in Port St. Lucie, Florida. With graduate degrees in social work and business administration, she has since 2017 spearheaded the growth of the practice to more than 30 staff and 4 locations. Congratulations, Lisa. It was named 2024 Business of the Year by Palm Beach North Chamber of Commerce. Along with that, Lickstein is an experienced speaker at national industry conferences, as well as nonprofit and political events across Florida and Washington, D.C. Under her leadership, Lickstein Plastic Surgery presents the Women in Business Mentorship Academy through the Palm Beach North Chamber of Commerce. It's in its 6th year. More than 150 women have furthered their professional goals through this program. She is such a supporter and fan of women. I am lucky enough to count her as a friend and someone who supports me and is my fan as well, and likewise for her. Lickstein is a proud leadership Palm Beach County graduate, recipient of the Hadassah Women's of Valor Regional Award, and member of the U.S. Electoral College. In 2024 and 2025, she was recognized as a finalist for the prestigious Executive Women of Palm Beach's Women in Leadership Award for Private Sector Leadership. And along with that, she's just brilliant. So please help me welcome Lisa Lickstein. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, friend. And I'm so proud of you for having this. I do have to, like, this is the hazard of having your friend invite you to be on the podcast, which thank you so much. That's such an old bio. So I want to start with that. We were so blessed. My husband and I started at Lickstein Plastic Surgery. He was in another practice from 2002 until 2017, and he started Lickstein Plastic Surgery at that time, along with our then PA, Christina Hopgood-Noggle, who's a top 100 aesthetic injector, and just really brilliant. And as they grew the practice, we separated and opened a med spa in 2020 when everything was going crazy. We actually expanded, which was fabulous. Then we opened another little outpost, which is still since closed in Port St. Lucie. And then we actually sold our med spa services to cosmetic physician partners. And that finished in November. And Christina is now the director of that. And my husband, David, is the medical director. And so it is fabulous. And we have expanded to an OR that we are in the process of getting Quad A certified. And we are working on an expansion to another location further about 20 minutes west of us. So that's the current landscape. And altogether between the CPP employees and our employees, we're at 40. But it is very much a team. It is myself, my husband, and Christina, and our phenomenal team. But I am delighted to be here today because I am such a fan of yours and have really been such a fan of yours. And I will say that since seeing that first like ad for AmSpa years and years ago and going like, what's that? I should go to that. And first meeting you and seeing just your intelligence and your advocacy ooze through all that programming. And this is a baby industry. Like no one knew, you're in another industry where as a plastic surgeon, you call ASAPs and you get some advice, right? Or like this was brand new and everyone's calling you, right? So I remember going to that first like appointment in aesthetics and like Blakely's the speaker. And I was like,
that was awesome.
And I just you moderated this crazy panel, like so talented. And I am just proud to call you a friend. So
Oh,
thank you.
I feel the same way. I really do. Lisa, you're talk about incredible. You're an incredible, not only are you, I just don't know if you sleep. I'm worried that you're getting enough rest because you are not only are you incredible at what you do and the day to day, and I'd love to talk to you if you're willing to. If you're not, that's totally fine. But about private equity and that whole experience that you went through, because I know a lot of people are in different phases of that conversation.
I
Go
A
ahead.
100%. I'm happy to talk about that, but I want to say something that's really important. We're in our house now, and we have three adult daughters. And upstairs in the loft area where their rooms were, there was always this sign that we got for them that said like, the harder you work, the luckier you get. And
Yes.
we're always good about the work, but yes, but no, right? So
Mm-hmm.
recently, I saw a quote that was so impactful that said, rest is part of success. And that I feel like is something that I wish was on a plaque when my girls were growing up, because
Uh-huh.
you have to have both. Like we
Right.
have, you can't pour out of an empty cup.
Yes.
A lot of this industry is pouring yourself out. And if you're on empty, you have nothing to pour. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say that that's a really important thing, is like when we all go like, oh my gosh, how do you sleep? Like, please sleep. It's so
Yes.
important to sleep because you can't be there you can't show up for yourself, and you can't show up for anyone else if you're always on empty. And I feel like for too long we were like, keep running, you know?
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I think your dreams must be super productive then, because one of the things I love about Lisa is that she is always seeing opportunity and growing. And um, where we really had a chance to bond was through her recent kind of translation of the unreasonable hospitality concept from originally, if you're familiar with it, it was written as a book from the perspective of the restaurant industry. And Lisa read it and really started to say, well, there are parts of this that can be translated to what I do in my medical spa, and has really made an incredible success of it. So, I mean, I want to talk about your full journey, but I think it's really important to kind of talk about that as well, because I think the way that you found something in its original form and then translate it, to me, that's a really like that's next level thinking that will really get you where you need to go in this industry.
Thank you. And we have the unfiltered sessions going on, so I'm going to take a second to say hello to my daughter who's home from college. Hi, Jess. They, when I was gifted a book, the book Unreasonable Hospitality was written by Will Guidara, and Will was at the time a 26-year-old general manager and was really tasked with taking a two-star restaurant and making it much better. It was owned by Danny Meyer, who owned Michelin-starred restaurants, and it just seemed underperforming to him. And it's the journey over the course of 11 years, which is not why the restaurant's 11 Madison Park, but that's the address. It's not the 11 years, but his 11-year journey into making this restaurant from 2 stars to the number one restaurant in the world. And that's incredible, and a goal that really resonated with me, because our practice, both our medical spa and our plastic surgery practice is excellent. But yet we have competitors, right? And when we go to the conferences, the people who show up in conferences are people who pour into themselves, or people who are educated, or people who want to do better. Or these are typically, you go to a conference and you're talking to people who already do things well. And so the concept of that, this is someone who went from 2 stars to 3 stars to 4 stars to being invited to the 50 best restaurants in the world, being in a
Wow.
room of his icons, the people he worshiped growing up, the best in his industry, to deciding, no, I want to be number one. And how do you differentiate yourself from being 50th in the world?
Mm.
Outstanding by any measure, right? You're at the
Mm-hmm.
right? To being number one. And that's a journey that's worth breaking down and seeing how that happens. And so that resonated with me deeply. We started an office book club, and I tried to present that at Strategic Planning Day in our practice years ago. And one of our consultants, who I love, Amy Anderson, still our consultant from one, but Amy said, "Do you know there's a certification?" And I was like, "No, I didn't." And so I went and I got certified. And so I will say that Coach Builder offers this incredible certification, and that's how I came to this process, really being able to break down the fact that all of us, and I know, Kathy, since you have started your consulting business, that this is really your philosophy as well. I know this is that you walk the journey of their client, of your patient, and how do you elevate every touch point along the way? And that's like, I know that you have so much to offer your clients because you look at it from the patient perspective always. And so going through and seeing, where is that balance? What do we do for them? How do we have our staff show the clients an elevated touch point from before they even come to your practice, right? From how did they hear about you until hopefully there's never an end, right? Hopefully they book that next appointment and everything that happens in the middle. But your clients, your staff can't show that to your clients unless they experience it themselves. And the thing that's great about aesthetics, and someone, I'm a decent bit older than you, but the thing about people my age in this industry is that we all did something else first, because this industry was not around when we were babies. So we bring a background, and what got you to this industry? And for a lot of people, it was a chance to lead how they wanted to lead. It was a chance to impact women or impact people how they wanted to do it, which meant that they weren't necessarily shown unreasonable hospitality where they were. And I was at a conference recently where the new Allergan CEO, Nicole Moed, said, it just so perfect. She said, I'm going to quote her this all the time: "Purgatory is a room where no one cares your opinion." And I was like, dang, girl, that all day long, right?
Lisa, you told me that the last time we saw each other, and it's like I wrote it in my notes, that quote, because it's like, there's nothing more accurate, really, truly,
than that. So when you have staff, if you don't care their opinion, if you don't look there and say this, you not only do you matter because you do your job well, but you matter because you have eyes and thoughts and opinions, and you can see what I'm doing wrong, and I need to be open to hearing from my staff what I can do better. That when you show your staff that, then they can show your clients that. And I think that's really one of the questions you asked me was, what would I tell my younger self? I would tell my younger self two things. I would say, like, you need to ask the right questions of your team, and you need to be open to outside eyes. So, a lot of people say, like, well, why have a consultant if, I'm doing well? Because you want to do better. You want to get from 51. You can't do that without outside eyes,
right?
Kathy, because Kathy can give you the outside eyes. But it's so important to find someone that like can look with freshness. And sometimes also your team, like, they won't tell you. You can ask them, they won't tell you. I hope they tell you. We were really this last month in prep for our strategic planning day, which is coming up. I was really able to put in writing a series of questions for our team, and I met in small groups with each of them to make sure that nobody didn't not participate. So across the team, asking them, other than compensation, what could we do as owners to make your experience as an employee better? And then that was phenomenal, getting the feedback about that and really helpful things. And then ask them, what could they do better as a colleague? And then get to what can we do for our clients on the touch points along with the clients. And when people have a chance to really think about it, such a useful process. And you have to care your staff's opinion, or you'll have endless turnover, and you'll sit there and go like, oh, well, why am I not doing better? You're not doing better because you're not doing that.
This episode is sponsored by Growth 99, the med spa industry's leading digital marketing platform. Growth 99 has helped over 1,000 aesthetic and elective wellness practices grow through powerful digital marketing. Leading practices trust Growth 99 for services including marketing automation, beautiful websites, paid media, and SEO. Visit www.growth99.com today to learn more, or click the link in our show notes.
I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Zero Filter Sessions. I just wanted to take a quick minute to tell you more about me and how I might be able to help you. I have recently launched Christensen Consulting to help practices like yours with operational and strategy challenges that you're facing. As someone who's been in the industry for 20 plus years and who has grown small businesses from being in the red to being multi-million-dollar companies, I am confident I can help you. Whether you feel like you're always behind in making decisions for your practice, are struggling with team management and motivation, or are assessing how to grow, scale, and make more money, whether on your own or through private equity, I can help. Please reach out to me at Kathy, C-A-T-H-Y, at cchristensenconsulting.com. That's C-C-H-R-I-S-T-E-N-S-E-N consulting.com. Or check out my website at cchristensenconsulting.com so I can help you find solutions and find success. And now back to our episode. Well, and not only that, your staff, most of them are experts in the field of their own. You know, they not only are they experts, but a lot of them are fans of the field. So there can be, you're only one person. You can actually maximize the ability to be aware of what's going on in the industry and what you should consider bringing on and what you should consider getting rid of and all of that if you allow your employees to feed that conversation. It's amazing. And I love the way you said you did it in small groups and not necessarily just one-on-one, because I think that also feeds into the changes you eventually implement. If you do decide to do something, there's a group of people that witnessed that original conversation.
So important. And the what you just said before, and giving people ownership of something. Like Will Gadara in his 11 Madison Park talked about fine dining restaurants. It's all about wine, and you have this world-class sommelier, but he had staff that were really interested, back of the house staff that were really interested in coffee and beer, just as side personal interest. And he gave them ownership to elevate the restaurant's beer and coffee programs. And that showed them confidence. It let them explore what their skills were. I think a big thing is like we look at our team and we know what they're doing. We know like, okay, you're a medical assistant or you're our first person's team. But like, what are your hobbies? What is the broad set of skills and passions that you bring? And are we using them? Because if we're not using them, that's bad on us. We have a team member who's one of our cosmetic coordinators now, but we made a position for her. She made a position for her. She pitched it to us. But she's a professional photographer, and she now also is in charge of all of our before and afters and our video.
Oh, nice.
And that makes her happier. And it gets us, definitely improves the quality of our media.
Yeah, that's incredible. So let's go back, because your mind is this crazy and beautiful thing that I want to explore forever. I mean that. But I'm curious, I know your husband has a practice. How did you get into this field in this way that you got into it? And there are a lot of husband and wife teams, but I feel like you and your husband have really kind of crack the code on how to make this work well. So tell me more about that.
So I will say, because we didn't start off together, and when we met in college. He is a school year ahead of me, although we're only 4 months apart. When I initially, after college, he went to medical school. I went and got a master's in social work, which is a fabulous degree. Learning to listen to people. But when I finished and he finished med school, and we wound up in the same hospital together on the same service, and that was not a good thing.
No.
So the cracking the code, well, I was a social worker and then general surgery intern have very fundamentally opposite what's a win are opposite things.
Uh-huh.
So we at the first go round, working together was very difficult because your win has to be the same, right? If you're both going to do well, you have to have a similar win. But after so many years together, and we met in 87, we're together since 88, it's a long time. We moved to Florida. He was with another practice. He woke up one morning and was dressed and next to the bed. And honestly, I thought something terribly tragic may have happened.
Mm-hmm.
Parents have had, like, God forbid, but like so scary. He's so abysmal. And after running through what could this be? I was like, is he leaving me? Like, what is so sad? I was so nervous. He's like, I can't do this anymore. I'm like, what can't we do anymore?
Yeah.
5 a.m. and he was like, I can't work in this practice anymore. And I was like, oh, that's easy. We can fix that.
Yeah, that's not as bad. That's what I was thinking.
So at my background, I was a social worker. Then I went back and I got an MBA. And I ran assisted living properties, and I loved that work. And then when we moved to Florida, I transitioned from that to nonprofit work and found that I was very shameless about asking people for money. So I was a good fundraiser for causes that were important. And was very heavily involved in that work. And then things in politics are very contentious now, so I don't really love to dive into that. But I was active in a cycle, and when that cycle ended, I suddenly had a little more time at the time that David was opening his own practice. And so he asked if I would go, there are boxes coming, can you go there and see? And what became really apparent was that all of the surgical questions, concerns had been answered to a T. We had everything we needed, but it was like opening a restaurant without a menu. We were missing the marketing part. Like, well, there's no one who knows his brand better than me. So I stepped in to initially create that. And then I think my job was basically like chief hole plugger, like whatever was done. We couldn't afford more staff, so that fell to me. But I was an office manager, and I wasn't, it just wasn't that. But as we grew it was very organic, and Christina was certainly very much a part of that. And sort of the roles became obvious as to what was needed at any point in time. And then we were very lucky in that we're in the same plaza as our Chamber of Commerce. And so that was a very natural way to grow in the community. We've always been very involved in our community, different organizations, but when they started talking about wanting a mentorship academy, that felt perfect. Exactly, because politics is so contentious. And this is a lovely way. It's not denominational. It's not sectarian. It's not political. Like, who doesn't want to help mentor and elevate women who are motivated to succeed? Like, no one.
Yes. Right.
Go down to that at all. So that was just such an organic way to pour into the community and to receive back. And we've been able to impact now almost 200 women over the 6 years that it's been going. And we're so proud to be a part of that in the community. And then this year, I was really lucky to get to be a mentee. C2 which is in Chicago, has a protege program, and so I went to their conference and learned so much. And it's important that we always learn, right? Like, as much as we know, someone knows more. So learning as you go along is so important. And I think that's something I would tell my younger self too, is to make sure that you find a mentor and that you're humble about what you don't know. Like I've scaled to the point that I could scale. And you asked about the PE. So the wonderful thing about CPP is it's not a PE.
Okay.
So PE's goals are to make money by holding an asset briefly and then flipping it.
Mm-hmm.
Physician Partners is the premier network of cosmetic physician groups that work together as a network to lower your cost of goods, to provide real common back office services, to provide common education, to provide like really strengthen you in all the areas you need to be strengthened and yet let you run your practice. It's for us, it was really important. And I think a lot of spas and a lot of plastic surgery practices struggle with this, where Christine is almost 20 years younger than David and I. So
Mm-hmm.
if we had chosen a PE company, maybe, 5 years from now, we're out, we're done, we're retired. But then what's her career? Who is she working for that career? And can she work for herself? Can she, lead how she wishes to lead? And
Mm-hmm.
CPP allows for that. And
Mm-hmm.
I just think I think it's the right answer for a lot of people, very honestly. I think that that as a concept would grow. And it right now it's I think the largest consolidator in the US.
So how would a company start that conversation? I know a lot of people are reached out to. If you aren't reached out to, how do you start that conversation with that type of an entity?
So I think it's important to understand what any of the entities are looking for, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if you take home all your profit as a salary, then there's nothing for an entity to make money on, and there's nothing for an entity to help with. So it's first like being really honest of, if you salary yourself in there and all your expenses are in there, and the real expenses, not stuff that you're running through because you have an LLC and your accountant tells you can, but
Mm-hmm.
your real expenses, is there enough left over at the end that shows a business, an outside business, that what you have going is strong and can grow? It's kind of like they don't start necessarily at a seed, but if you have some, you've grown it a little bit and they know it needs a little help to flourish and grow bigger, then they'd be interested. And I know for CPP, there's a gentleman, Sean Walsh, who's the point of contact, and you can go to their website. They'll you can fill out and say they'll reach out to you. I think all of those organizations reach out to you. We did not use a broker.
Mm-hmm.
We had gone almost through the process with a broker and a PE company, and that fell apart at the end. And that turned out to be such a blessing. Like, and I think that's it too, is that those things that seem tragic at the point in time, and it's really like the universe nudging you in the direction you should go. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a lot of things. I think you have to be open to that too. You have to not get stuck in the, oh my gosh, this isn't working out. Like, maybe because it's not supposed to work out. Maybe what you were meant
That's
to do
right.
is this, and to take a breath and be brave enough to listen to how the world is guiding you. I feel like that's an important thing to do. For us, this has been much better, and I am a fan so far. We closed.
Yeah, I think that is a huge thing. And I'd almost say, I mean, I would love to have had that skill when I was younger. But the older I get, it seems like I allow myself more time and breath and space to react to something, or try to. If I feel like I'm going down a black hole of panic, at what point can you look back on your life and say, this nothing good came out of XYZ. Usually you can say something good has come out of whatever challenge that you're experiencing. But I feel like it takes a little while to get that mentality. I don't know if you feel the same way, but
Well, I think, but well, it's like when you work out, you're bruised up a little bit, so you have
yes.
time to
Yes.
like absorb that and gain the muscle from it, and not just feel like, ouch.
Yes, that's right. Very good. So if there are people, I mean, it sounds like I would love to know your thought as how you feel now. Like you said, you first started in the practice as the chief, like hole filler. Do you look back on this and be like, this is where I'm meant to be? Are you really enjoying what you're doing?
So two different things. I feel like I'm still evolving and still moving.
Uh-huh.
So in this last year, as you know, I've been doing so much more talking to groups about unreasonable hospitality. And then from that, it really made me sit and think why. I mean, the book resonated with me very much, and I could tell how it's helped our practice. But I was very I wouldn't say surprised, but I found it remarkable how many opportunities I had um, where people thought like, wow, I want to hear more about that. And
Mm-hmm.
so then I was like, what is it about this? Because there's so many different business books. Like I said, we have a book club in the office. We've read a stack of phenomenal things. I'm, not exactly a Mel Robbins kind of thing, like so what is it that resonates so strongly? And I think the idea is that people get stuck. Like, what the answer is.
Mm-hmm.
I like to tell people that like Jeopardy is a super popular show for my whole life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the hard thing is finding the right question. Like we you know what the answer is. Why aren't you getting there? And
Huh?
those right questions are
Mm.
really hard. And I feel like unreasonable hospitality, the way that all ties together for me is like in aesthetics and all the for me, I think every practice I've spoken to certainly does some version of the same, right? You have this huge menu of services, and someone comes to you and says, I'm not happy, fix it. And you talk to them about, like, well, how much can you spend, right? And
Mm-hmm.
what are your events coming up? How much downtime do you have? And do you want like a facial or you want a micro laser? Like, how much pain? Like, we can hurt you here. What do you want? Um, and so when you talk about, you ask a lot of questions to try to gauge that perfect balance for that person about what their budget is and what their downtime is and what's your recovery time and really what's your pain tolerance. And when I went out and started talking to people about unreasonable hospitality and how that gets implemented in their practice, it really reflected on, no, wait, it's all that same decision making because
Mm-hmm.
people know where they want to go. They could see it, but they don't get there. And they don't get there because they don't ask the right questions of those three areas. So just for, alliteration purposes, I
Yeah.
just set to dollars, discomfort, and downtime because it works for every decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to start your own practice. You know it. You can believe in yourself. You want to do it. Why aren't you? Well, it's some combination of those three things, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to take on a new treatment, you want to hire a new employee, you want to move to a bigger space, all of those
Mm-hmm.
things, it's some combination of those three of how much can you spend, how much emotional pain can you tolerate, how much downtime in your life, in your practice, in your cash flow can you tolerate, all of
Yes.
those things. And that's for everyone in every decision. So um, for me, I am both working in the practice and working on the practice. But one of the things I've done in the last 18 months is develop an amazing assistant management team so that my
Mm-hmm.
everyday role in the practice is far reduced, that I can sort of go out and have these conversations more and to do the strategic planning for our practice, which I love. That's my
Yes.
favorite, that and staff development. And I love staff development. And that I think if you're not interested in developing your staff, aesthetics not the field for you because this is
Mm.
one man band thing. You can't do it by yourself.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting that you say that because I feel like that is a lot of where problems lie, is that feeling of, oh, this team is driving me crazy. But I think you're right. I mean, reality says you can't do it by yourself. And there are solopreneurs, of course, there are. But if you have people who are going to help you grow and thrive, you've got to learn how to work with them. That's a huge skill.
It's a really important skill. But
Mm-hmm.
I know you had asked about a mentor, and I always go back to this. So I was a social worker, and I was a social worker med surge and like a heart transplant team at New England Medical Center, and I did like discharge planning for older seniors. I enjoyed that work. And then I wound up I had a freak accident, got hit by a car as a pedestrian, and wound up like I needed to move jobs because I needed to be able to like get therapy while I was at a job. So I went to like a fancy nursing home and was like
Uh-huh.
there. And I enjoyed that work, and then wound up from there. I had my first daughter, and while I was on maternity leave, walked by an assisted living that I was trying to get one of our residents from the nursing home into the assisted living because she was really too well for that. And
Yeah.
no one had called me back. So I was like, sunny day, I'm going to walk by, take my little baby who's 29 now. I go in, and the executive director comes out because the residents are simultaneously, let me see the baby. Why would you bring a
Yeah.
baby here? Right? I was like, okay. And she said, why are you here? And I said, well, I'm just walking around, but also, I didn't get a call back. And she's like, well, do you want to work here? It's like, what are you talking about? And she's, well, you didn't get a call back because my social worker quit. So it's like that's very serendipitous, but she was a wonderful mentor, and she really saw that I wanted to be in the management side. She taught me a lot. But back in the day, and I have no idea what the regulations are now, but back in the day, the only way you could be a licensed executive director of an assisted living facility was either you had to be a nurse or you had to have an MBA. And I was neither of those things. So she asked me when David was going from general surgery to plastics, she said, well, what are you going to do while he's doing plastics? And I was like, I don't know. We have a baby. We don't have 2 cents. They're there for 2 years, and I'm going to be somewhere else for 2 years, whatever. I'm going to, whatever's around. And she said, why don't you go get your MBA? And I literally was like, that was so impossible. I was like, okay, the list is this long. It's like taller than me. Okay, we don't have 2 cents. We don't have 2 minutes. He's a resident. I have a
Yes.
baby. We have you're joking, right? And she just said over and over, dead serious, if you want to, you'll figure it out. Like she was a
Ooh.
no. And I was like, at first it really aggravated me. I was
Yeah.
like, I can't figure that out. I don't have, I don't have any of the ability to do this. And then at some point, and my husband is lovely. It was like this is I'm not, but he did something, and it was something about childcare. But I just looked at him and like, oh yeah, well, what are you going to do when you're in a plastics program? And I'm getting my MBA because you're going to have to figure out the childcare because I'm going to go back to my MBA. And he was like, what, who, what? Um, and then I was in it. Then I just pursued that, I think, because I said it out loud. And it's really important to say it out loud,
Yes.
right? That's the thing is you have to say it because then you're holding yourself accountable to it.
Yes. That
And
is so true. Once it escapes, especially if someone hears you say
yeah,
it.
it's there. So then I was like, damn, I have to take the GMAT and apply.
Yes.
I had to
And
figure
you
out
did
how we're
it.
doing this. And I did it. And so we, long story short, that happened. And once I got my MBA and I was running assisted living, then we moved down to Florida. And again, I did the nonprofit, all that. That's how we wound up here. I feel like you have to be open to chapters or seasons in your life.
Mm,
And
mhm.
they're all related. They all teach you things. When we moved down to Florida, I was still working for the company that I was an executive director and an assisted living for in Boston. They let me do consulting down here when we first moved down here, which was so
Oh,
lovely.
nice.
And so I went to like Florida Assisted Living. It was a fella. I went to their breakfast, and this woman, you're new, so you've the same 9 people show up at a thing for 2 years, and even new people come talk to you. So this woman, Andrea Albertini, came up to me, and she was CEO of a new home care agency. And this is 23, 24 years ago now. And she's like, oh, well, welcome. Why don't you, want come tomorrow? I'll take you around and meet some people. And I was like, seriously? And she's like, yeah. And I was so sus about that because I'm like, I'm going to be a competitor to you. Like, why are you taking me anywhere? And she's like, no, come, we'll have great breakfast. We'll go drive around. And I hopped in her car and she drove me to meet like her vendors, her clients. And I was like,
Wow.
this is weird. Like I was sitting there going what is this? And I said to her, I said, do you understand what I'm looking to do? And she's like, yeah,
Uh-huh.
her competitor. She goes, you just told me you just moved here with two little kids from Boston. You're going to live here, right? And I was like, yeah. And she's, well, I'm going to live here too. And we're going to be in the same organization. So we should work together. We should like each other. We should support each other. And that to me was, and so to this day, we're friends and we refer to her and we work together. But that is, I think, the best advice to give anyone in this industry because there are med spas everywhere.
Yes.
Whoever leaves your office is going to go work for someone else. They can either have horrible stories to tell or be your brand ambassador, right?
Yes.
And sometimes you may try so hard to have room for your employees to grow. Sometimes I don't have room for them to grow. Like, right. So
Right.
in MA and they go become a PA and they're fabulous and you love them and you hire them back, but maybe that's not what they should, maybe you don't have a space for them or the right space for them. You want them to flourish someplace else and you have been like a good stepping stone along the way.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think that's a huge part of all employees, but women supporting women and trying to give them that leg up and that good memory and you want them to say my favorite boss was,
yeah.
or I really enjoyed working, or when they become the boss, to be the ones who provide opportunities and help them grow because of what you did. Yeah.
That's really my goal is not to be their favorite. I mean, I'd love to be their favorite boss, but that's more of like a personality thing. But I would always hope that people would say she gave me opportunity.
Yes.
She helped me get where I want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And that for me is a win in this. That for me is a win.
That's incredible. So I'm curious, as far as burnout, a lot of people right now are feeling a lot of burnout on various levels. As you've mentioned before, the contentious political atmosphere, and then just your everyday, stuff that you're dealing with, work, family, et cetera, et cetera. How do you recognize burnout as a leader? And how do you recognize burnout both in your team and in yourself? And then how do you address it?
So great questions. Great questions. We talk a lot in the office about that everybody gets to have their 5 minutes. Like if you in that pouring out of the empty cup thing, right? Like
yes,
our patients, like, and we do cosmetic and reconstructive plastic surgery. So you cancer patients, and then you have like somebody who wants laser injector, like people who are needy in different ways and who have expectation. And the goal is always to exceed the expectation, right? So you might be having a bad day personally, and yet you have to come and be that person who's positive and pouring out into your client. And that's burnout. That's really hard. And we talk about like if you feel like you're going to cry at work, come see us, that you shouldn't have that feeling. If you had where you just need 5 minutes, tell a colleague I need 5 minutes and go take a walk, go have a cup of coffee, go whatever. Because if you ignore that, if you feel like you can't do anything about that, if you're always stuffing your emotions, it doesn't work. We don't have, we have we have a lot of good. We have what we call EAs in our practice, which one of our estheticians, Beverly, came up with, an encourager and an advocate, like someone, an employee that's been with us for more than 4 years, who's a buddy, but not a direct report to a younger staff member. So when you could vent.
I love that. I love that.
Very lovely. But, still, you put 30 something women together, there's going to be catty and pushing and, all that, like, annoying someone just because you can, and we just try to have honest conversations about that and tell people like, look, when I have a conversation with you, if it landed how you want it to land, right? and if it didn't land how you want it to land, then ask for a do-over. Like say like, hey, I'm sorry, I that was not the intent. And to assume positive intent, right? Assume that your colleagues are not trying to make you insane. And to have dialogue about that. Pick up the phone. Sometimes there's text
Hmm.
or whatever it is. There's a lot good about writing. Sometimes you need it written down so that it's not a question of people heard different things. But then sometimes, like when you're writing it and you go like, that could be read this way or that way.
Yes.
Write it and send it, and then I'm going to call.
Yes. Well,
So,
and sometimes I even have like a friend read it and I'm like, I know my intent in writing this, but how is it going to be received? And sometimes it's shocking how they react. Like, oh boy, I wouldn't send this. It's like, really? Yes, the phone, you can't read context into voice.
right.
I mean, you
And
still can, but
the burnout, like you try to do things in a way that layers. So our surgical office is in a plaza that has this place called the Salt Suites, which is not a competitor to our spa. They have
hmm
Salt Cave. We don't offer that. But it's very relaxing.
hmm
You put on headphones, you breathe. It's like makes it like ocean air kind of thing, but you're in a
hmm
in a plaza. And so if we have staff that are having like a really rough day, I have little coupons for like half-hour sessions for the salt suites and like go like, have
love that.
have some time. There are things that you could do. We have a really lovely I have a business coach. I think it's important that like we have consultants, but then personally, like like
hmm
you and then I use Stacy Tuchel, who is a business personal coach.
hmm
And she had this all about me form. And I don't know why I never thought about that, but it's so easy and nice. And we keep it in a folder in our shared drive so everyone can see it. Someone's having a bad day and they're having a bad day. You can look at what's their favorite candy, what's their favorite gum, where do they like to
Oh, I love that.
like do they have favorite music? Like what can you do that just like love up your colleague that's not giant, but that's accessible, right?
Yeah.
Somebody like who did something really nice and you're looking like what do they like to do? And like, okay, they like Legos and orchids. Well, hey, I'm going to send them the orchid Lego kit to make. Like
Aw.
it just helps make it feel more personal and more like extra care without it being difficult. So there's little things like that I like to share because you should pass on those kind of pearls, right?
Yeah, well, and I love that too because it makes it easy. You like a lot of times some people, I'm one of them, don't necessarily like to unpack all of that, with everybody right there. So it's nice to have, oh, what a kind thing. Someone saw me down and they got me my favorite candy bar or they got
Yeah.
me my favorite flower. And then it's just like that acknowledgement, like I see you. We
Yeah.
don't have to talk about it. I love that. That's really, really cool.
So I enjoy that. But so that's stress reduction. For me though, I have really leaned into hobbies that I enjoy in this season of my life. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that your interests change. And I
Mm.
think they change like if you had kids and it's like when you didn't have kids and then when you had kids you're in like your what you do with your free time or what free time or
Right.
but that what you like changes and that's a great way to make connections. I was at a conference and people I have a picture of like off-roading we've like to go out to Utah and someone's like, oh, I was there and she really knew where it was and was like, oh, why are you there? She's like off-roading. I was like all day.
Oh,
Like, I
so
you
cool.
make these connections and it's fun. Um, but making sure you have a little time that's your time and I think I've heard more and more. I think a younger generation, like my daughters are 12. My husband would correct me. Our daughters are are 29, 25, and 21, and they're very strong, right? Like and so like they are really raised like don't shrink, and I think that's really important. Is that you be comfortable to manifest what you want, to say it out loud, and then to find a way to not shrink so that you're not doing what you want to do, which is I so applaud you because you were like, I have these incredible skills to impart to all these practices and all this knowledge from the industry. I'm going to go out and do that. And that's like, it's the being brave, right? Like it's the first you have to like acknowledge that that is a thought, like, no, I'm really thinking it. And then you have to say it out loud, and then you have to be brave to do it. And then people see like it only works because you do in fact have something really valuable. So the I think feedback is very organic because the phone's ringing or it's not ringing, right? And it's ringing,
Right.
you have something valuable. And I think that's for me, that it's important that you keep your hobbies and you're down your stress level enough to just sort of imagine always like your whole, if you're in the aesthetics field in any way, if you're a provider, if you're a consultant, if you're managing your team, your job is to wake up and pour out, and you can't pour out if you haven't filled yourself up.
100%. That's very, very wise. And I think it is something that, and I think you're right about the younger generation. It's funny. I used to speak and still do speak on emotional intelligence. And one of the things that I talk about is how important it is to be emotionally intelligent. And I would always get, like, when I would speak, I would see like scoffers in the audience. Like, I just want to make money, who cares about this? And I always kind of reference the upcoming generation, Gen Z, Gen Alpha. Like, they don't put up with the stuff we put up with as Gen Xers. We were just like, yes, I'll work 7 days a week and, and like 80 hours a day and whatever. Just give me $27,000 and I'll be thrilled. Like that. And I applaud, like, they keep us better. Like, they don't settle for it. And I think that generation is really one that keeps us growing. It's much easier probably to scoff at it, but the reality is, wouldn't we have liked to feel that way when we were that age? So I truly think that's a very cool thing to look at that generation and say, yeah, I mean, some of this is absolutely right. Some of it,
And then, yeah, I mean, people sit there and go like, okay, that the younger employees in some ways are more difficult or a challenge. Yet they also have that to teach you, is that breeds are important and they're healthy, and they come in with, they went to high school or college during COVID. They learned how to learn online. And how to interact with teams online. You and I are talking, they did their like 2 years of school like that. They have skills that are very important as well. And I think that as a balance is really important to have. But let's say one thing, other thing I think that is important for people to know. I'll see this in my office a lot, and I tell my employees this frequently. Women apologize for taking up space. Like, there's a little pass-through workroom between our front desk and the clinical hallway, and there's a copier, and we smushed 2 desks in there because we took an office for 11 and made it an office for 30 something.
Yeah.
So inevitably, like, you're bumping into it. But the person whose job it is to shred and copy and scan and do it. She's like, I'm sorry. I'm like, what are you sorry about? You're doing your job well in the space you're supposed to be doing it in. Why are we apologizing?
Right.
I really repeatedly will tell my staff, don't apologize for doing your job well. Like, if you say, excuse me, I didn't mean to bump into you. Or you can go around that way or whatever. But if you're doing your job, don't constantly apologize. I really think that we were socialized to do that.
Yes.
It's important to actively stop doing that.
I so agree, because what it does is it tends to push your self-worth down. I mean, I know it's something that seems small, and I'm a Midwesterner. We're very good at apologizing for everything. But it actually makes you start to be like, I don't belong here. I don't deserve this space that I'm taking up, like you said. And it kind of demoralizes you internally. It's that kind of self-talk that you're doing. Like, shouldn't be here. I don't belong here. I'm in the way. I think it's a habit that is actually pretty detrimental, like you're saying.
And I think for me, that's the kind of thing that a good consultant really helps to practice with. Is that you see those things like
Mm-hmm.
it's somebody who walk through and because those pieces of things are what make staff leave or make you disconnect or and it's like the quiet problem. You're like, oh well,
Right.
there's not something wrong like big W wrong, but a lot of little W wrongs is just as bad as a big W wrong.
It's so true. It's that concept of silent majority, right? Like if there's something that's happening within the majority of your team that's dissatisfaction, even if it's small, it's really big if everybody's feeling it. And if it's silent majority and people aren't talking about it, you won't know until maybe you hear about it after people have left your business or during their exit interview, which is absolutely the worst possible thing.
Yes.
Oh. Well, I have taken so much of your time today, but I have to ask you one of my very favorite questions. If you had a theme song at this season in your career and in your life, what would it be?
Okay. So this morning, I'm going to share the story because
Yeah.
So, you sent me these questions and I was like, I don't have a theme song. What would my theme song be? I know what my theme song might have been like 15 years ago, but I want this to be good. And so I'm like Google searching the things and my husband and I watch a show that Selena Gomez is in. So it's like, oh, maybe I'll look and see what that is. And this song was just like, so Revival was like so amazing. And I know I sent it to you this morning because I was like, girl, this is it. This is the song for people our age because it's about like, these things have been painful. They've led to change. They've led me to be who I am going to be at this season and this stage of my life and to be that butterfly and to keep expanding and growing. And I love, as I think that you have to acknowledge that if you're not fresh out of college, you've been bounced around a lot. You have a little bit of bruises and that it's okay to have that revival and to make space and create for yourself what this next 5-year period is going to be. And then the next 5-year period is going to be, and you don't have to say like, I'm doing this for forever.
Yes.
So I'm down with the revival from Selena Gomez.
Yes. I have to say, Lisa sent me this morning and I was just telling her this earlier, but I woke up sleepy this morning and I was having my coffee and she sent me this text and I like looked it up right away. And by the end of this song, I was like ready. I was ready to take on the world. So Revival by Selena Gomez, like starting my day with it, like every day this week. That's my goal. So Lisa, I am so grateful for you. I'm grateful for your mind. I'm grateful for your friendship. And I just look forward to I want to learn more about the 3Ds of decision making, which was again, what are they?
Dollars, discomfort, and downtime.
Dollars, discomfort, and downtime. And I really want to think about that concept because you're right. It's how you have to make decisions. So I want to think about that a lot. I'd love to learn. I'm looking forward to seeing you grow that concept and share that concept. And I can't wait to actually see you in person again. And I just thank you for your time today.
Thank you. And thank you for all you have done for the industry. You're really so humbly insightful and that's very rare and a true gift. And I look forward to seeing all the ways that you're going to impact all the practices that you work with. Thank you.
You're amazing. Thank you, Lisa. Have a good day.
Bye.
Okay, bye.